Hello, this is Christopher Tipper with Hunter Benefits Consulting Group. What I'd like to talk to you about today are the different philosophies and timing policies that we try to suggest when our clients are sponsoring a coordinated cash balance plan and 401k safe harbor plan. All right. Now then, the first thing we're going to talk about is the fact that there are three different possible timing scenarios for the 401k plan and the cash balance plan. All right. Now then, an employer can choose to do all of these at the same time after the actuary has determined what the final amounts should be. All right, that is an option. Or an employer can choose to make different deposits. All right, different deposits at different time frames. Now then, with the safe harbor contribution, and we usually set our 401k cash balance plans up to have 3% safe harbor, usually not for the highly compensated employees, and a profit sharing contribution, of course, the employer non-elective. Now then, with the safe harbor, you can choose to make it either per pay period as you go, or you can choose to wait until after the end of the year and we calculate what that 3% is. All right. Even if you do the per pay period, we may still true up a contribution and you may owe somebody a couple more bucks. Okay. Now then, that contribution, when you make it, it can be made, it needs to be made all at once, but it can be made separately from the profit sharing contribution. All right. Now then, the profit sharing contribution, because of how we calculate that to coordinate with the cash balance contribution, that one needs to be made after the end of the plan year when we figured out what everybody needs. And again, that contribution needs to be made all at once. Does not need to be made at the same time as the safe harbor, but it does need to be made for all of the employees who are to receive that contribution. And then now finally, the third one, that's for the cash balance contribution. This one has both the most flexibility, but also can sometimes create the most confusion. You do not have to put all of your cash balance money in all at once, just like you do with the safe harbor or the profit sharing. You can choose to make frequent contributions throughout the year. Maybe work with us and or the actuary to figure out what's a good estimate and put in 1/12 of that every month. All right, because there is no actual account for a record keeper like there is with a 401k plan. It just goes into one account. You can make frequent deposits. You don't have to write a check all at once. All right, so that's the different timing opportunities or possibilities with the three different types of employer contributions going into the plan. Now then, the next concept is going to be, what is the philosophy that you need to have in order to figure out how to fund these things? All right, we are compliance geeks. We are not financial professionals. So we're talking about philosophy and concepts, not specific advice, not which particular fund or mutual fund or ETF should be bought. All right. As long as it's legal, as long as it's reasonably liquid, we're good to go. All right. The specifics are not up to us. However, a 401k plan, which is a type of profit sharing plan, is a defined contribution plan. And that means, and that's really important, a defined contribution plan has the limits based on the contribution amounts. It's based on what you earned this year. That determines the limits as to what you can put in. The gain or loss for the account balances in a 401k plan have no bearing whatsoever on your contribution amounts. All right, so that's the one where, if you allow me to use the baseball analogy, that's the one where you can swing for the fences. If you want to get a grand slam every time you're up to bat with a 401k plan, knock yourself out. Does not affect the compliance. You get to put in as much as you want and gain or lose as much as you want. Now then, a cash balance plan, on the other hand, is a type of defined benefit plan. That means that the math has some kind of theoretical lump sum amount at your normal retirement age, and the IRS doesn't care if that amount comes from contribution or gain. All right, if you have a massive gain, you're going to have a lower contribution. If you have a massive loss, you're going to have a much larger contribution amount. All right. So what we suggest is that, again, using the baseball analogy, is that with a cash balance plan, you kind of think much more a single, a base hit. Heck, get hit by the pitch. I don't care. Just get to first base. That's good enough. Now then, depending on some specifics as to what kind of plan you have, we're usually looking between 3 and 5% for the rate of return that the plan is going to assume. So if you're a financial professional, you usually think of your value as to how much you can add to the plan, what the maximum gain can be. That's true with the 401k plan. But with a cash balance plan, you need to think about your value being how close you can get to the expected rate of return. So let's say for a variety of reasons, we're using a 3% expected rate of return on the cash balance plan. Your value is how close you can keep to that 3% year over year, not bumping it up to 20% one year and losing 15% the next year. That's not a good thing. We would like 3% on an ongoing basis. Hopefully this makes sense and this helps explain things to you a little bit. If you would like to discuss this with a little bit more detail, please feel free to discuss this with us at sales@hunterbenefits.com. Thank you very much.